My life with Carson began in 1962, actually in 61, at Armstrong State College down in Savannah, where I was teaching a freshman English class. I passed out a list of novels on which the students could write their research papers. Well, you know who was not there, don't you? And a student from the back of the room raised his hand and said, Ms. Carr, he said, there's a writer you don't have on your list, and the book is not there either. And I said, oh, who is that? And he said, Carson McCullers. I'd never heard of Carson McCullers. Well, I didn't want to tell my student that, so I said, oh, and which of McCullers' novels would you like to read? He said, Clock Without Hands. It's the last one, and I just would love to be able to do my paper on Clock Without Hands. I said, let me add it to the list right now. Well, I went home, read Clock Without Hands, buying the book, as a matter of fact, so I could mark it up to interact with him. And it was shortly after that that I went back to school, to graduate school. And while I was in the process of reading all of McCullers' works in a seminar in American Lit, her novel, The Heart is a Lonely Hunter, was on the list. So I thought, I'm going to write my big seminar paper on McCullers. Well, my then husband came home one day and he said, Virginia, that woman you've been going steady with has just died. And I know he thought that I'd be losing all interest in McCullers after hearing that she was dead. That just, illuminated. It was Carson's illumination and day glare for me, because I knew then that I would write my doctoral dissertation on Carson McCullers' work. As soon as I graduated, I was, on the job market. In fact, before I graduated, and I went off to a South Atlantic Modern Language Association meeting with a vita on which I had written my dissertation topic, Carson McCullers and the Search for Meaning. I want you to know all I had in November was a title. And I was interviewed by the head of the department at Columbus College, now Columbus State University. And the head of the department said, and he met me at a cocktail party, and he read my name tag, and he said, I've been looking for you. Ms. Carr, he said, I want you to come to Columbus and let us interview you, because I think we need you at Columbus College. Well, here I am with a job and my dissertation not even started. And so I wrote it very quickly and finished it in time to arrive in August to start teaching. And immediately I just picked up all this lore on the Smith family. Every time I turned around, and I'd eat downtown, and a waiter would have been a waiter and knew Carson's father. It's just the coincidences were so extraordinary that it wasn't so much that I was seeking her to write her biography. It was all these things kept circling around me. And before I knew it, I thought, let me write her biography. But it wasn't even that easy, because first I read about a publisher who just did bibliographies. And since I had an extensive bibliography on McCullers' works, including all the foreign translations, I sent my dissertation to him at his request. And he called me and he said, I've stayed up all night and I've read your whole dissertation. I want to publish not just the bibliography, but I would like to give you an advance to write an introduction to her life. Well, for the dissertation, I had already interviewed Carson's brother and his wife down in Perry, Florida. And I thought, I know this family. So it started with that, and I had to actually buy myself out of my little contract for a book on the life based on the dissertation, because I wanted to write the life that was going to be fresh so far as I was concerned. And living in her hometown, meeting people, it just evolved. Well, having already met Lamar and his wife, and I must tell you that before my biography came out, Lamar wrote me and said, now, Mrs. Carr, please don't put anything in your biography that might give my Jenny a heart attack. Well, I assured him I wouldn't, and I didn't. Well, after the book came out, his wife died of a heart attack. And I'd already sent him a copy of the book, of course, and I had inscribed it for both of them. And I said, if I have erred in fact or nuance, I would like very much to be able to make those corrections in a subsequent edition. And I had something like 5 reprints and 2 new editions. And then I didn't hear from him. And some 3 years later, Lamar Smith called me and said, Virginia, I'm going to be in Columbus to see you. Are you going to be free on Sunday morning? I said, Lamar, I can't believe you've called me. I said, of course I'll be free. I said, in fact, on Friday I'm having an interview about The Heart is a Lonely Hunter. And it will be on television because they're going to show The Heart is a Lonely Hunter on Sunday morning. Well, wonderful thing is when Lamar came in, he came with his nurse. In fact, he arrived on Friday. And he had been seated 5 minutes when his nurse said, Mr. Lamar, shall I bring your suitcase in now? And I said, or he said, I think I should wait until Virginia invites me to stay. And I said, if you can negotiate stairs, my guest room is downstairs, and I would love to have you be my house guest. Well, he came only to see me. He wasn't just coming to Columbus. I took him all over town. We visited, his cousin, Virginia Story. He visited the library. I mean, I pushed him in his wheelchair up and down Broad Street, which Carson had walked so many, many times, past the old house and so on. And Sunday morning we sat on the sofa holding hands and watched the movie. Well, Monday, when I got home for lunch from school, I found a great box of flowers awaiting me from Lamar. And the message read, end of Act 1, Scene 1, darling, with all my love, Lamar. Well, I hadn't even had a chance to write him my thank you note when he called me. Said, I just wanted to make sure that the flowers were long-stemmed American Beauty roses. I said, I'm sure they are, Lamar. They're just beautiful. He said, well, I gave my first wife, Jenny, Virginia, long-stem American Beauty roses, and I wanted you to have the same thing. Well, he proposed marriage to me shortly after that. And when I had to say no with, being flattered naturally, as he said, Virginia, you know me and you know my family better than anyone else. He said, let's get married. I'd love to marry you. Well, 9 months later, he married his nurse. And so, I've gone steady with Carson McCullers, her family, and have loved every moment of it.